stuff that don't even pay attention to that or anything. They just go on babbling, whatever. Westminster Confession says a lot of. Hello, MathPig. How are you?
Evening, my friend. How are you?
Oh wait, hold on. I gotta put my ears in, otherwise I can't hear you. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay? There's no echo or
Yeah,
nothing. I'm not wearing headphones. I'm trying to
I
balance, but
can. I can hear you now. Let me. Is there an echo?
no, there's no echo on my end, but I don't wear headphones. I'm trying to use the TV and a
Oh, that
microphone.
sounds good.
So I
I mean,
just want to make sure that it's all sounding good on your end.
yeah, on my as far as what I'm hearing right now is okay.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Jungle, I just wanted to say nice to meet you, and thank you very much for giving me. I'll not be too long on. I have work in about 2 hours, but
Okay, all right, that
I'm actually
sounds good.
I'm in the UK, Ireland actually, and yeah,
Oh,
it's 20 past 6 in the morning here, but I don't sleep, and you, I know of you, and I've just by pure chance I've noticed that you're live, so I thought I would jump in and introduce myself and just say hello.
yes, hello. Yeah, that's nice. I was researching my ancestry, and I'm supposed to be like 65% Irish or something like that.
Well, anybody from from United States of America that says they're Irish, I generally dismiss it. I must go for evidence. I'm not going to be that person, but I must go for evidence because everybody thinks they're Irish in St. Patrick's Day in
Right.
the
I can get that. I can understand that.
United.
I can
My,
understand it.
my granny actually last month did her genealogy. I'm not sure exactly what website she used, but we were 30% Scottish, 35% Irish, and the rest of it was European. So I'm not exciting at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Most of us are like that. I'm about what is it? 50. I'm about no 20% German. I know that because a lot of the people where I'm from are German background. German names and everything.
Do you mind me asking what at least time zone that you are? Or you're United States, yes.
Well, right now, yeah, I'm on the East Coast right now.
Ah, so you're not too far behind us. It's about what, half 1 in the morning there.
Right, and I work at night, so that's why I'm up today right now.
Well, I generally only sleep about 3 or 4 hours a night, so I don't like to waste time.
Oh, that's good.
Well, it's good and it's bad, but it has its benefits and its pros and cons. But
Yeah.
I do have to say, Spooky has followed me here, and Anti Ordinary has followed me here. I hope you don't mind, but obviously everybody now has a Discord server, and I have you on my list for when you go live. Because I do want an opportunity to have a chat with yourself. I do have a channel that I like to involve everybody from every single point of view. I've had Calvinists on, I've had Catholics on, I've had what you would refer to as a heretic on. I even give Jill an opportunity to come on. And as I've said, I'm agnostic myself, but in my opinion, I would say true agnostic, so to speak, as in I am generally open to conversations with most people. So I would like to have a possible. Oh, Messenger reveals has turned up. I haven't went to bed. No, I haven't woke up. I just haven't went to bed. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in, introduce myself. I have obviously had 3 or 4 pints. It is quite late for me, and I will be going to bed now. I'm not going to hide anything. But I just wanted to jump in when the opportunity arose that we were both alive and awake at the same time to just jump in and introduce myself.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you can any other time. You're welcome to also say what you believe and present what you believe, and provide whatever evidence that you have for that, because I think it's good to let people say what they believe and things like that. And that's what the Bible says too. And then we pass judgment, or we you know say what we think, what we believe, and why. So that's the way it should be.
Yeah, well, everybody is influenced by everything that came before them. I do say on my channel, we stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us, and that applies pretty much to everything, regardless of what.
Yeah. Well, that's true, except that I I like to be original. I like to try to say things that people don't ordinarily say, or think of things that people don't ordinarily think about. So, and I had this thing, well, what makes Christianity different, and what is it that I believe that makes things different? And so I came up with this little phrase that that distinguishes exactly what the truth is. And the truth, the absolute truth, is that only your maker can be your savior. Basically, and that's basically what the Bible says too.
Do you mind me asking what your stance would be? I have a general gist. Like, I've seen you out and about in jungle. I know, of you from the community and seen you back and forth and stuff. But do you mind me asking what your actual, you know, what your theistic beliefs would be if you could put yourself in a pigeonhole? I've also said in my channel, putting yourself in a pigeonhole makes you easier to fucking shoot. But
Yeah,
would you consider yourself a young Earth creationist, a theist, a
yeah.
Calvinist, a Christian, a Catholic?
Well, I would be a young Earth creationist, fundamental Bible believer, is what I would be. You know,
Are
I'm
you,
sorry, can you say that one more time? Can you say
a
that?
a young Earth creationist. What he mentioned whether or not I'm a young Earth creationist. They call them YECs.
Yeah.
So I'm a
anti-ordinary?
young
Yeah,
Earth creationist, and I'm a fundamental Bible believer. In the Midwest, that's what we are. We're
So you
fundamental
believe
Bible
that,
believers.
so you believe the Earth is 6,000 years old?
Yes,
Okay, okay,
yes,
okay. That's a commitment.
right,
What
right. It's you
what
have to you have
convinced?
to be strong in your position to believe that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So what makes you so convicted?
because for one thing is that human history only goes back about 5,000 years, and biblical history goes back 6,000 years. And
would
the maker of the universe would also be the maker of time.
would you
So do you
Sorry, go
believe the
ahead.
Bible was literally handed down from God? A human didn't write the Bible.
Yeah, it's God inspired, and the Bible is actual history, actual genealogies of real people that we're all descended from.
So then the Bible came alongside human recorded history. The humans
Uh,
wrote the Bible, so it's like just as long as our history anyway. It's not like the Bible came 1,000 years before us.
well, that's what I was going to say. It's yes and no. The Bible is contemporaneous with human history, and it is also from before human history. So it's before the Sumerians, before the Egyptians, before the Chinese, before the Hindus, before the Mayans,
So before Christ.
and before Christ. Except that Adam and Eve were told about the seed of the woman, which is Christ.
Okay, how do you come to that conclusion that the seed of the woman is Christ and not just an egg?
Because the seed of the woman is Messiah. He's the one that would crush the serpent's head.
No,
The
but
only one
how
able
do
to
you come to
crush the
that
serpent's
conclusion?
head.
That isn't, no, that's just saying stuff. How do you come to that conclusion? What logical mind,
Be,
what do you do to get there? Walk me
because the only one able to crush the serpent's head is God Himself,
through. Yeah, but that's
right?
no, you didn't answer it. You just said,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Well,
Just to
that's
jump
okay.
in here, I'm sorry that I seem to have came in, asked a few questions, and then sat back, and there seems to be a mad debate now, and I don't want
No, no,
anyone to.
it's okay. It's okay. I welcome it. It's no
I'm
problem.
sleep deprived as well. Sorry.
Oh no, no, it's fine. You're only getting up, and I'm only going to bed. So
I haven't slept yet. I'm not sleeping today.
we have a quip. Just as a side tangent, jungle. I'm open to everybody. Messenger reveals it's in the chat. If he's not going out tomorrow, he's coming in. Anti-ordinary's coming in. We're gonna have a game of Quiplash, which is they ask random questions, we make random answers, and the audience votes on the winner. It's generally a lot of fun. You're more than welcome to come in.
Okay. I just want to answer Messenger reveals questions. I'm not NIFB.
So what I mean, I'm not trying to be antagonist a little bit bitchy, but what I'm trying to say is that, so you said the Christ is the only thing that can kill the snake, and the woman's seed, therefore, blah blah blah. Okay, so I think I'm with you on that, but you have to demonstrate that that's the case in the first place. Like you have to demonstrate that God is what would destroy this thing. God is real in the first place. Like that's the whole. You can't just make the
Right.
notion that yes, God is real and therefore all of my logic holds up.
Right. Right. But I think you just came in after I just presented all my evidence of God is real, because nothing can exist without a greater and greater maker and a greater intelligence.
You would agree that that's a presuppositional position, though?
No, it's more, I consider it an observation.
Well, then we would have to go down the line of defining evidence and doing a whole Stephen McCrae thing, like, but we'll do it anyway, and define evidence.
And things do come with that.
Just to jump in front of Anti-Ordinary here, not to be a complete asshole, I do apologise, but I have experienced things that I don't and can't explain, so I am open to, I wouldn't go so far as saying supernatural, but I would say things that we don't understand, but I am open to that as a personal belief of my own.
I've had things happen to me that I can't explain. Like I had this thing that I thought was like a UFO or some bitch come over my house. I was like, I'm about to be abducted and stuff. I couldn't figure out what that situation was, but I also didn't put it off to the Anunnakis. I just was like, oh God, that was weird. I wonder how I can figure that out at some point. But like so when you made the statement that nothing is made, that everything has to have a maker, but that's not true. Things happen all the time that aren't made. What do you consider a maker? Like an entity? If something wind blows a tree over, who's the maker? That comes down
right.
to
Well, that's how I would define the God as a power. So anything that has power is from God, because all power comes from God.
See, that's why I would make that statement that you would be a presuppositionist.
That's how I define God or gods, is power, as a power.
But you haven't. So yeah. Then if you define God as power, then yeah, God is real. I believe in God.
Exactly. Exactly my point. That is exactly my point. Everybody believes in God.
I believe in God because electricity exists. I believe
exactly.
in God because exists. No.
Exactly. And where did the electricity come from? Where did the electricity come from?
Can I just say one thing though? By your definition, you're defining him that he must exist. You know, it's like if there's oxygen, there must be God. So by definition, God exists.
No, but that is the definition of God. God is a power.
Well, that's your useless definition of God.
No, it's a very effective
from a Christian
definition.
point of view. No. I would agree that
it's a very effective definition for you because you don't have to argue it.
Of course not. Of course not, because God is real.
Yeah, exactly. So
God is real. Yeah.
So it's not an honest intellectual
No,
argument.
It's very honest. It's the truth. It's the truth that God is real.
All right, yeah.
And there's nothing anybody can say.
The truth.
There is absolutely nothing anybody can say. That's the whole point.
I know. And God is my arsehole. And I love that. We're all living.
No, you have to be reasonable, and you have to follow rationale, follow the reason where it takes you, and you can't be afraid of what the evidence is going to show you.
Sex gives me energy. God is energy.
No, but it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to what God is.
Okay.
It's irrelevant.
I just find that, when I come across certain, like I've met Jungle Jargon, you're a young earth creationist, as you've said. I've met other people of different ones, and when I come across asking them what God is, they all give a different definition, and their definition defines what they allow and what they can say and what goes forward. And I always try and not be an asshole, but I just find that, having this conversation with you, you're defining God into existence.
No, but see, that's the biblical definition of God, is that He is the all-powerful, and all power comes from Him. no power. There's no power that does not come from God.
So by
That
saying,
is the biblical definition of God.
So that's
That
what I
is
was
the God
asking
that I
you.
believe in. I believe in the God of the Bible.
you believe the human defined God. Great, got it.
I believe the what?
In the human defined God.
No, that is what the evidence of God is. If there
I said
was
the
no
Bible
Bible,
defines God. Yeah, the Bible
if there was
defines
no
God, and I'm
Bible,
going
I
with the
could
biblical
still
definition.
see. If I was honest, I could still see that all power comes from a greater power. All energy comes from a greater energy. All intelligence comes from a greater intelligence.
I,
I,
I
I,
can
I,
believe it, but I wholeheartedly disagree, and I don't think you actually supported those claims.
You can disagree. I mean, but that's what the evidence is. It's obvious. It's very clear to me, and it should. I don't know why it's not clear to anybody else, but it's very clear to me.
I
In the
don't mean to
same
be rude, but that's a very
I would-
blanket statement, man. And from what I've seen of you, that you're a lot smarter than that. Just saying that if you can't see the evidence, you don't believe it. Yeah,
I would like other people to see. No, what you know. It's very clear,
Well,
and I
yeah, it's
don't
like
think.
God
I mean, the
standing
Bible
behind.
says there's no excuse.
so
Yeah.
can I?
Sorry,
so
go on
to
ahead. Go on ahead.
As to help you understand why I can't see how clear it is, why aren't you a Muslim? Why aren't you a Jew?
Because they don't have the same teaching that only your Maker can be your Savior.
Well, they do. They do. The Muslims definitely do. The Jews are a bit more.
No,
The Muslims
no.
do.
It's the whole thing is that only your Maker can perfectly cover for you Himself and remake you again from the inside out by His true word.
Muslims think that.
What's that?
Muslims believe that. What you're
No,
saying, Muslims
no,
believe.
no. They don't believe in a covering for our sins.
No, that's Jesus. That's a part of Jesus. So
Right, but the Muslims don't believe in a covering for your sin. They don't believe He's God. They don't believe He died.
no, they don't believe Jesus is God. No, they don't. But
Yeah,
they
okay. So then, but Messiah has to be God. Only God can be your Savior.
I love you.
That's the biblical teaching. See, the problem is that people don't know what the Bible teaching is. That's why I'm saying if you knew what the Bible said, you would agree. Because that's the whole thing on my upbringing, my background. I'm saying, why don't these people understand the Bible? It's because you don't know what the teaching is.
I bet all the Muslims are saying the same as well.
No, they don't say the same thing because they don't believe the same thing. I just pointed out the difference.
Okay. Well, you did. You did very adequately. Thank you for making it so crystal clear to me.
I mean, yeah, I would like to make it crystal clear that all power comes from God. There is no other power that's not of God.
All right. Well, that's it. If I just say something is something, then it's something, and that's the end of the argument.
Well, it is the end of the argument when you come to the truth. There's nothing else you can say because you can't argue with the truth.
But
But you have to
that's what I'm asking.
And I believe the truth.
That's what I was asking at the start, Jungle. Then you would obviously be what we would refer to as a presuppositionist.
No, it's not a presupposition.
You're going
God is
straight-
not a presupposition. God is not a supposition. God is observed.
Are you trolling? Are you trolling us? This isn't a
No.
No.
To me,
Jungle's not
all the
trolling.
skeptics and atheists are trolling Christians, and that's why I want to get the message out. Is that we're teaching the truth. We're telling what the truth is.
Christians aren't you. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not trying to discredit you, but Christians aren't young Earth creationists that believe this kind of stuff. Many Christians believe in fucking science, evolution, the way the universe has developed, given evidence. You are within religion, a fringe group. So,
Anti-order, can you do me one little favor? Try not to use bad language.
sorry, that's my Scottish.
I can't believe you actually got shouted at before me. Have I not swore yet?
Yeah. Well, I try not to step on people too
Oh
much.
no,
but,
man! If you have a rule that you don't like swearing on your channel, I will try and adhere to that. But I swear like a sailor, and I'm Irish,
Yeah.
so
I would prefer that people make an effort.
Even people that I invite onto my channel, the first thing I say to them is, I talk too much. Feel free to moderate me. So if I talk and I swear too much, feel free to jump in. I will take no offense. It is your channel at the end of the day.
So here's my take on what you just said. I don't think it's a atheist, skeptics, blah 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 vs Christian. If you come onto my Discord, I have a lot of different religious, spiritual kinds of people of all different faiths. I don't have any problem with any religious people. I have problems with people that deny reality just for the fun of it.
Well,
Uh,
I have problems with people that deny reality too. That's what
but then you
Matt teaches.
claiming you are representative of religious people, you are representative of Christian people. It's a joke. It's hilarious because you're not even a fringe minority of religious people. Young Earth creationists are not even like a representative, massive religious people.
I think there's a lot of us to begin with, but even if there isn't, it doesn't matter. I'm teaching what the truth is.
Well, it just negates your example. You said it's Christians, these skeptics, religious people, and then you're considering yourself as a part of someone that represents Christians. But you don't because your ideas do not resemble that of most Christians.
It comes straight from the Bible, and that's what's important to me.
No, it doesn't. The Young Earth doesn't come straight from the Bible. It comes from a biblical scholar later on who added up the times within the Bible to try and come to a
Well,
right date.
are you aware that the Bible says that God made everything in 6 days?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the Bible is a young earth creationist teaching.
No, so you should be a last Wednesdayism. Just because, let's hypothetically, and I don't agree with it, but hypothetically, let me just grant you the, let's say the universe was made in 7 days or Earth was made in 7 days. That doesn't mean that 13 billion years hasn't gone past since the 7 days it took to make it. So just because the Bible says it took 7 days to make it doesn't mean that the Earth itself is.
Well, it just depends who you talk to about what the definition of a biblical day is. I don't know, Jungle, if you've heard of Richard Madsen. He would be what a lot of Christians call a heretic. He is atheistic, and I do a show with him on a Thursday night. Yes, I'm shilling, and he has a completely different view on all of that, but he would still consider himself a Christian and Jesus and the whole.
Yeah, well, the Bible gives us the ages of when people were born and when people died, and so that we can know that the human history before the global flood is exactly 1,656 years. And
all I'm
and
trying
no
to point
more.
out is I know another person who would consider themselves a Christian, that when they use the definition of, or when they go down the line of the 6 days of creation, that they take each day as not 24 hours. I'm just trying to point out.
Yeah, well, it's one rotation of the Earth. It's evening and morning means one rotation of the Earth in relation to the sun. So that's one 24-hour day.
Oh yeah, the English definition of day, I would definitely agree with you on that. That's definitely
what
what a
happens
day.
in 6,000 years or 6,000 years ago when the day was longer or shorter? Like eventually days are going to get longer and shorter, and that's going to impact.
Right, but it's not going to, it's relatively speaking, it's not going to be that much different.
I think it's 0.23 of a centimeter every day, every
I
year
think
that the moon moves away.
No, I question whether or not the days are exactly the same. I question a lot of that, but it's not going to be that much different.
If you take into consideration 6,000 years, then that is correct. But if you can take into consideration what Anti-Ordinary and myself would believe of the 4.3, I think it is, of the Earth being in existence, that over that course of time, the days and lengths and years and orbits all can change. But I can agree with you that under your worldview of 6,000 years, from start to finish, there would be very little difference.
There would be very little difference, but it's also hypothetically, unless you believe the rapture is going to happen in the next however long you believe it's going to happen, in the next 6,000 years, let's say, we humans have the potential to be alive for a whole lot long of a time, assuming we don't fuck ourselves up somehow. So we could be around for millions of years to come, and the Earth could still be spinning.
Well,
the Earth will always be spinning, whether we're on it or not's a different question. We might have to find the need to build rockets and get the fuck off it because we're going to ruin the thing. But
probably
the Bible does talk about God's faithfulness to the thousandth generation. We've only had like 100 or 50 generations or so, and it talks about thousands of generations, or to the thousandth generation anyway. But I'm not sure if that's enough of a basis to say that we're going to be around for thousands of years. But
I don't actually believe we will be around for thousands of years. I'm just trying to like poke holes in the logic. If this is what you're considering a time frame for what you believe in, that time frame isn't some set in stone steady thing. That's a changing thing. So in 100,000 years, time will be different from what it was the 6,000 years when the Earth allegedly started.
Well, I'm gonna pick at you and say time's different regardless of what gravity's around you, but that's all about that.
right, it has
Okay.
to do with how much.
There we go.
I'm just trying to pick holes at you. In all seriousness, though, I do apologise, Jungle Jargon, if I've started an argument that you're not appreciating, but I do have about 10 minutes before I have to go to bed. If you have an email, man, I look it up in your channel. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'd like to have a chat, possibly a bit of banter, as we call
It's
it. Crack.
Jungle Jargon at Gmail, I think, is my email.
Well, that's fucking easy to remember.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do apologise. I didn't mean to swear. Yeah. So I'll maybe chit and chat and sit in the background for another 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll make myself known before I jump out. But I just wanted to say, man, thank you very much for giving me a chance to come onto the channel and say hello. And yeah, I appreciate it. I like to reach out to everybody of all wakes of life and all beliefs. And at the end of the day, people have called me out about who I platform, and at the end of the day, I just say I'm an asshole to everybody. You can't call me out if I'm an asshole to everybody.
Well, it was nice meeting you. Anyways, try to control your language.
I do apologize.
But,
I will be quiet.
Okay, but it was good having you.
Thank you very much, Jungle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if my discussion is coming across as antagonistic or argumentative, because it kind of is. Whenever I disagree with someone, that's just what it is. But I'm not trying to take it to a negative place. I don't think contention's necessarily negative.
Well, like I was saying, I think there's a lot of evidence for God, and I think people are very misled as to what the evidence is.
Do you want to run me through some of that, since I think I missed whatever?
Right, because of the fact that nothing can make itself. Everything that has power gets its power from a greater power. Everything that has intelligence gets its intelligence from a greater intelligence, and on and on. And that's evidence of infinite potential of God.
And that's not presuppositionalist.
No, that's observational. That'd be observational.
No, because observation would be there's cause and effect. That's
Right,
an
it's
observation.
cause and effect. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the cause is a deity or a god.
Well, it has to ultimately arrive at the definition of God, though.
Yeah, because you define God as the universe, essentially.
Well,
I'm
no,
saying-
all powerful. No, it's greater. It's greater than the universe because it's the maker of the universe.
I know, we can be pedantic about it. I know that's what you're saying, but you're essentially defining God as everything. So there's no way we could have a discussion in which you can be convinced of your position or you can convince me otherwise.
Well, I think it's very, very convincing. I don't know. It convinces me.
You were already convinced. You figured out a way to justify your own belief.
Well, that's good. It's good I can justify my belief, right?
No, it's not, because you've done some crazy radical jumps to justify your belief. So no, I would say
It's just science. It's science. It's what we can know.
That's not science. We had a whole long time in human history with quote unquote religious science, and we got absolutely nowhere. We've had about 200 years of modern science, and look where we are communicating.
I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing better and better all the time.
Yeah, we are, because of modern science.
But this is not. It's not rubbish science. Though we're, the Christians gave us science, and then we're the ones developing science and continuing the real science that all power comes from God. That's the real knowledge.
The scientists don't believe the Earth is 6,000 years old for the moment.
Well, they have to be convinced of that, and of course they weren't there, so they can't say either.
Yeah, neither were you. That's a silly.
Hey, can I say something? real quick?
Sure.
There's a lot of flaws in the scientist dating of the Earth. You know that, right? What is your name?
At the ordinary.
You can call me
Okay.
There
anti-ordinary.
is
Okay.
limits to just to point this out before this conversation goes down a route that I have seen before. There is certain limits to each different type of radioactive decay and radioactive dating. There is certain people that have used marine animals with high carbon in them that has disproved, so they say, carbon dating. But there is each carbon dating has its own limit, its own range.
No, I'm not even talking about dating. I'm talking about like the the receding of the moon and the time limit on when it would be. It would be close. It would be touching the Earth if the Earth was that old by the actual receding
No,
But
no.
that's if you take it as a
mirror.
constant.
If the
Just to
moon
jump
moved
in that,
away,
just to jump
yeah.
in, that takes it
Hold on.
as it's of a constant as it is now, going back in time without change. Sometimes it does change. We just recently found out. I can't remember the exact name of a scientific constant. I literally only read it yesterday and I skimmed the paper. But there is a universal constant, which we have recently found out that may not actually be a constant. And for the last possible 30 years, we've been going down the route of using mathematics and using these to produce a prediction. But now that our telescopic technology has got better and we can see further outside of our own particular range in the universe, we've seen that it isn't actually constant across the whole universe. I can't remember the exact name, and if Jungle Jargon does want to come on in the new year, we will discuss this and I'll look it up and get the exact paper I'm talking about. But it's just an example of how science can change and how our knowledge does change over time. Saying we know everything right now, I don't think anybody can make any statement on everything. You could find a man that knows everything about TVs and has worked in a TV factory for 50 years and say, I know everything about TVs. And I would still disagree with him because all I need to find is one thing that disagrees with him, and I'm right.
So
Well,
everything's up for grabs. Then there should be no mocking of a younger creationist, right?
Well, it's a really silly idea because no science,
Oh,
no
it's
rational
silly.
scientist. Well, do you know what I'm? Go on. What am I saying is silly? Go on.
You're saying that young Earth creationism is silly,
No,
but
I'm not.
things
You're being a defensive.
science
I was
is
going to say
changing, and we're finding new things, and
you're being
that's what
defensive.
that's what
You're being
math.
defensive.
I'm
Breathe
not.
in your nose, out through your mouth. Breathe.
I wasn't even
Yeah, because
through
I
talking.
young Earth creationists are silly. I already said that. Why am I going
Yeah,
to?
as soon as you said that, that's the end of your. That's kind of the end of your respect.
Okay, I don't need
In
your respect.
in a way, I mean, not my respect, but honest conversation,
No,
objective conversation.
anyone can look at people that refuse all of current scientific evidence and say that is silly and be justified in that statement.
Well, they just found out that the Sahara Desert, I think it's the Sahara, yeah, Sahara Desert was made in what they say a couple thousands of years, but that used to be millions of years, right?
No, yeah, but that. What I don't understand is you're talking about science's perspective of the Earth and the universe changing. That is an indication that science is functioning and healthy and thriving because science isn't like religious people. Science
Right.
doesn't claim.
let me give an example here.
Right.
Just about put in my 2 cents. The creationist viewpoint is that everything was made after its kind, and lo and behold, science is finding out that everything is a copy, can only be a copy of its ancestor. And so it's true that you can't
I just want to point
you
out Jungle
can't be
Jargon. Sorry.
anything
I don't want to interrupt here, but I just want to just point out something in the way that you worded that you define something by a kind, which would be a biblical term, and then you changed it to match what the science is. Could you define kind for me?
Yeah, it's everything that reproduces after its everything is a copy. Everything is a copy of its ancestor, and we're finding out more and more that you can't be anything other than what you're copied of. In other words, chimps can only be chimps because they're copied from chimps, and humans can only be humans because they're copied from humans.
Well, you see, that's
And you can't.
I'm not sure if I'm using the definition term, but would that be a category, or
But,
because we're
but
not
let me
copies,
finish,
we're
let me
actually
finish though.
everything
Let
changes.
me finish. But let me finish. Is because there's extraneous information in chimps that humans don't have, and there's no way for us for them to get that information, or for us to get the information that we have from each other, because we're copied from our ancestors. In other words, chimps have information, their own information that we don't have, and we have information that chimps don't have, and there's no way we're related because we're copies of our ancestors.
Yeah, we are related. We can demonstrate we're related because we can
I
make drastic amounts of connections between us. Just because we're not 100% the same.
But I
doesn't-
just demonstrated that we're not related,
No,
though.
no, you didn't, because you ignored all of
Yes,
science
I
to be able
did.
to quote unquote demonstrate that. To be able to quote unquote demonstrate that, you have to ignore that when populations evolve alongside each other and become separated, their gene pools get introduced to new information.
But it's still the same information. It doesn't matter. It's still the same information they carry with them.
If a speciation event has happened and humans,
It
some form of
doesn't. That's why.
from a chimp, and then that human goes on to live its life and that chimp species stays alive, they're going to continue evolving. So they're eventually going to still develop to be so different that they can't interbreed and stuff. That's just how the science works. So you're ignoring the science to justify that the science is agreeing
But
with
they
you.
still carry the same information. There are different numbers of copies and combinations of the same
I
information.
just disagree with the fact that you're using the word copy, because every next generation, now I'm not sure in my numbers again, because I have to check my papers, and it's quite late at night for me, but
it's still a
I
copy.
think it's no. There's at
a
least
flawed
50
copy,
or
but it's a
60.
copy.
There's at
That's the
least
point.
50 or 60 to 100 different, as what we would call, and I'm going to use inverted commas here because different people use the word mutations differently, but there's at least 50 to 100 different mutations between the parentage and the child for each generation. That's how we survive. That's how we don't go genetically stale.
There's mistakes, but it's still a copy with mistakes. Is what I'm saying.
See, you're
You
using
can't
copy
get,
very
you
broadly,
can't
though.
get
You're using
different
copy
instruction.
Yeah, but you're using copy
Problem
very
is that
broadly. Every dog is a copy of a dog.
Different animals have different instruction to make them different things.
Right,
And
we
we can't be those things because we don't have the information to be what they are.
Well, if you could just simplify it for me, because I'm not sure who said it, but explain it to me like I'm a 3-year-old. It's.
I'm trying to be as simple as I can.
If I have two dogs, if I have two dogs, and I have one who's a Jack Russell, and I have one who's a German Shepherd, and they have a kid, the 8 or 9 puppies, are they a copy of the mum, or are they a copy of the dad? Are they an amalgamation of the both of them with possible mutations?
It's an amalgamation, but it's still the same information. And all dogs still have all the same information, the same instruction. They can't get instruction that's not there from some other animal.
So why are some people born with genetic abnormalities and other people aren't, if we're all the exact same copy?
Because it's a flawed copy. But it's still the same information.
I wanted to touch on, you're saying it's a flawed copy. That flaw is exactly what enables evolution.
No.
Yeah.
I don't see it. It doesn't write information. It doesn't write instruction that's not there.
No. How does that invalidate anything? Writing
Because what you need for evolution to take place is to have instruction that's not there.
No, you don't.
Sure you do. Because that's what different animals are. They're different instruction to be different things.
No, they're a progression of alleles over time. So eventually they've had more genes added to their pool, which eventually over a long, long period of time might change a specific trait.
It'll just be copies of what they're, the same information.
Right. Can I ask one question, Jungle? Can I ask a question, right? So you would agree that dogs can interbreed with other dogs, yes?
Yeah, dogs can interbreed, yeah.
So all the dogs out there that are part of the genetic line that came from the one dog kind should all be able to interbreed, yes?
Yeah, the one dog. It's all the same information. It's all information to
Could
be
you
a wolf or a
explain?
dog or whatever it is.
Yeah, could you explain to me then the difference of the what happened with the? I think it's is it the South African dog that is completely released itself from the genetic pool and can only breed with itself and
It,
cannot breed with any other dog, but is
yeah, it
still
doesn't
classed
matter.
as a dog.
It doesn't matter. It's still the same information.
Yes, but if the same information exists in that dog and the same information exists in an Alsatian, why has it actually moved above the speciation level and has now
Well,
evolved, in my
species
opinion,
is
evolved
irrelevant.
itself out of the species? You know, it's still
Species
referred
is
to as a
irrelevant.
dog
Species
because
is a
that's what it
nebulous
used to be.
definition.
As you would refer to as a copy, as a copy, as a copy. It'll never change. Evolution says that what you are, you'll always be. So it's definitely a dog. It's defined as a dog by all our paperwork and all the evolution and all that there. But it has speciated itself out of the genetic pool of all the rest of the dogs and can't actually interbreed. As we discussed earlier, where a Jack Russell could have sex with a German Shepherd, this dog can't have sex and breed with any other dog because it has
Right.
moved out of the
It doesn't
evolutionary line at
matter.
the speciation level.
It doesn't matter. It's still the same recombination of the same information. It
Well, I
can't
could say,
get.
well, just to say, right, man, just the fact that I don't mean to be rude, and I know this is your channel, and I don't mean to be a blank something, but the fact that you just dismiss it rather than actually looking at it just seems, it's a bit, you know.
Well, I believe it. I believe that they can interbreed, but
But
it doesn't
your
matter.
literal words was, it doesn't matter.
Can I just touch on what you said? It's a reorganization of the same information, which I guess is true on the same level that everything's a redesign of the atoms. We're all made of atoms, and atoms are
No,
arranged in different ways. So
no,
information that is arranged in a different way results in a
no.
different thing. If I form a sentence with a specific kind of words, but I take those words and reshift them and reshift their placement in that sentence, the sentence can mean and convey completely different information. The exact same thing applies to genetics in a really shitty loose term. It's not scientific, of course, but in a way to
Right,
try and make it easier for you, you can still have a
right.
different result with the same information.
Except that the mistakes aren't going to be meaningful.
But you see,
Yeah,
to break it down, Jungle, right? I think the point that we're trying to make is things evolve over time, right? So if I take a mouse trap, right? I don't mean to be, as I've said to you about asking you to speak to me like a 3-year-old, I don't mean to be disingenuous or a blank hole when I speak to you like this. But if you took a mouse trap that is designed to catch a mouse, and I took the spring off it, and I took everything off it except just the wood and the clip, it would still make a good tie clip. It's how things change over time. You know, it's how do you define a 90% of a wing? Look at penguins. You know, it evolved a different way. They now swim and don't fly. It's not that it's trying to be 90% of something or
Yeah, but
50% of something. Evolution doesn't have an end goal. It
but
works
that's
with
the
what
what
it
if.
has. We
What
stand in
if
the
this happened, and what if that happened, and what if the other thing happened? There's a lot of what ifs that just
and the
can't
point is
all
the
happen.
hypocrisy in saying that.
It's a lot of speculation.
It's not an awful lot of speculation if you look back through the fossil record, and I'm going to say this, which will, you know, people, the looking for a transitional fossil, which was massive in the 80s and 90s, they don't exist. Every single fossil is a transitional thing. I found out something, I think within this last 3 weeks, that after the dinosaurs, now I know you're going to disagree with this in Jungle Jargon, but if you could just let me get this out, from what is out there, after the dinosaurs died out, there was an opening, so to speak, in the food chain, and a certain type of crocodile that ended up something like 14 foot long that could run up to 30 mile an hour used to chase things down and eat them. You know, this evolved because of a gap that was appeared after the dinosaurs died. And I was watching that when my daughter walked in after having her bath, and she was like, "Oh, look, crocodile." And that was the first time she'd said crocodile. And I'll never forget that. And that's down to evolution and probably YouTube. But the
Well, that's taking in a lot of assumptions.
no. They have found, this is the point I'm trying to make. They have found fossil records of this from before, and then there was a gap of something like 40 to 50,000 years. they found something else that matched up with the back hip bone, and then they found something else. Every single fossil is transitional.
Right,
There
but
is no end goal.
you're matching up what you believe by way of your assumptions because
I'm
the
just pointing.
fossil
I'm
record.
also going to point out, and then I'm going to be very quiet, and actually probably leave because I've got work in fucking 2 hours. But if there's the chances of something fossilization, of it actually happening is rare. So we can't expect to get an exact step by step every 50 years. We're not doing
Right.
a statistic. It's
Especially when everything was buried by the same global flood anyway. So they were,
well, I'll give you that, man. 'Cause you're
that
giving
just
me
proves
mine.
evolution right there.
Well, you're giving me mine, so I'll give you yours.
Yeah. Man.
I appreciate it, Jungle. I will look up your Gmail, and we should definitely go. Even Spooky's telling me go to bed. I only have to work for 3 hours, and then I can sleep for like 6. So, but I really appreciate you taking me on, man. I really appreciate you having me here, and we should definitely talk. Tuesdays and Sundays is my free nights if you're up for it. And yeah, I leave you with Anti Ordinary. And I didn't catch your name in the bottom corner that looks like an icon movie trailer poster for like a horror movie.
Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes. Nice to meet you. I'm MathPig.
Yeah, you too.
Email me. We should chat. I come over, have a look. The more Christians I can get over, the bigger the base that I can have, then the more wide view that we can achieve.
Yeah, I kind of cut you off, Ecclesiastes. Maybe you want to say something else.
Nah, it's cool. Just listening.
I've offered everybody from Jesus is Lord to Messenger Reveals to Praise that I am that I am. They've all been welcome on my channel, and we've all had good times. So
Yeah, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, at least.
yeah, everybody gets at least one.
At least one. Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. And on that note, I listen to my internet granddad, Spooky, and go to bed.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. Just before I go, Jungle, do you mind if I post this on my channel as a mirror?
Sure. Since you were on here, yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And nighty night.
All right. Yeah. Night. Yeah.